know about this light up here? It's not on now, but when it is on, anything you say will go out on the air.
Oh, I see.
When it's off, you can say what you like.
Right.
So it goes off when the music's on.
Right. That's a piece I used to play.
Is it?
I got the music somewhere for them.
All right. This is Daniel Barenboim playing. Good morning, Vintage Radio listeners. It's 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning. So it's time for our regular Community Hour show, where we chat with an interesting person who lives and works on the Wirral. And today my interesting guest is Mr. Ron Ellams, railwayman and violinist. Hello, Ron.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you very much for coming in to
My
see us
pleasure.
today. And can I ask you, are you a native of the Wirral?
A native of Liverpool. I came over this side in the 1960s, so I suppose you could say I'm now a native of the Wirral.
Yes, that's quite a long time ago.
Yeah, quite a long time ago, yeah.
Which part of Liverpool did you grow up in?
Well, I was in Walton first and then moved to West Derby.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there came over to this side, the water.
So where did you go to school in Liverpool?
Florence Melly
Mm-hmm.
in Liverpool, Walton, Richard Kelly Drive.
Yeah. Did you leave school at the age of 15 or 16?
I was 16 when I left, yeah.
Did you get a job straight away?
Yeah, few weeks later I got a job in Cooper's warehouse. Well, Cooper's on Church Street. They had a big shop there, but they also had a warehouse. So I worked in there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked in the food industry for a few years. I took Morrison Jones's in Wood Street.
Yes.
And then from there I went onto the railway.
Onto the railway, yes.
Yes.
What age were you when you started on the railway?
I'd be 20, around 20 years of age when I started on the railroads.
Yes.
I worked in Langton Dock Goods Station, which is no longer there.
Oh, yes.
And then I was there for quite a few months, and I went from there as a signalman in a signal box in Bootle.
Were you one of those boys who'd always wanted to be a train driver?
No, and something that never entered my head to be a train driver.
Yeah.
But I just fancied being a signalman.
Yes.
Which I ended up doing.
Did your family have any connection with the railways?
No,
already?
none at all. No, my father was mainly a seafarer.
Yes.
In the early days during the war and after, and he used to make and repair shoes, and he had a shop in Cherry Lane during the war years.
Yes.
And I'll just briefly tell you what happened. He was working there till 10 o'clock one night, repairing shoes, locked up, went down the road. Next minute he looked back and the shop was flattened, a German bomb had hit it.
Yes.
So that was the end of his shop, you know.
Yes.
But he worked for different people in Liverpool who used to repair shoes.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you remember the war yourself?
vaguely the back end of it.
Yes.
Vaguely, I don't, because when the war started I'd be 3, 1913. I was born in 1936.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember I must have been in bed at night and I heard this almighty bang.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in our street. It actually hit the railway line in Breck Road.
Ah, yes.
And there was that I remember that little bit, but there's always been stories about that. Apparently it hit the railway line and there was a train full of ammunition.
Yes.
I don't know whether you could recall that, but anyway, the guard managed to detach the wagons and get them to a safe place so that it didn't blow up. And he got the Victoria Cross for that.
Yes.
At the time, yeah. But that was in my very formative years. I was only I just started school and just after.
So you were going to primary school through
I
the
going
war?
to primary school, yeah, Florence Melly, and then I went into the juniors, which is Florence Melly, which is across the road from the primary school.
Yeah. And by the time you went on to the juniors, was the war over?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
The war was more or less over then. Yes. But we were lucky. The house we lived in, we didn't get hit by a bomb.
Yeah.
But the house across the road got the roof blown off.
Yes.
I don't remember that one. The roof got blown off that, and I can always remember them to this day. Them repairing the roof as always used to do.
Yeah.
So, but I don't remember much about the war. I remember the old air raid shelters we used to have and that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
as regards the actually war itself,
Yeah.
I don't remember. A lot of children were evacuated during the war years, but my parents didn't evacuate us. He used to put us. There used to be a cupboard under the stairs, and he put us there out the way.
Yes.
Luckily, as I say, the house didn't get hit. I don't know what would happen if it had.
Yeah.
So I'm here to tell the story anyway.
Yes. Yes. And it's all a long time ago.
It's all a long time ago. It's,
Yes.
as you get older, your memory fades, doesn't it?
I don't know it. I don't know. I think some people do remember very clearly things that
The
happened
things
in
you
their
do remember
childhood.
very clearly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say that despite all this you had a happy childhood? Or?
Yes, I had a happy childhood, yes. I can't say I like school,
No.
but who did?
Lots of people can't say that.
No.
So you left as soon as you could, did you?
Well, I had a happy childhood. During them years, I was football mad.
Oh yes.
I used to eat, drink, and sleep football.
Yes.
But
Were you playing out in the street all the time?
well, playing out in the street, and then there used to be a park I used to go to play football in. In them days, I used to pay 2 shillings a week towards a football.
Did you?
That was I used to buy a football. There used to be a shop in Broadway,
Yeah.
sports shop, and they had this leather ball, and I thought, well, I want that. So my father gave me the money, and he used to pay 2 shillings a week for it. And that time, the balls were £2, which was a lot of money in them days. A lot of money.
Well, 2 shillings was quite a lot of money,
It
wasn't it?
was a lot of money, yes. But anyway, I saved up for it and bought it, you know.
I hardly dare ask this, but were you Everton or Liverpool?
Everton. I always used to go to watch Everton. I used to go watch Liverpool occasionally, but I'm mainly an Everton supporter.
You lived quite close to the grounds, didn't you?
Well, it was a walking distance, yes. We used to walk through the cemetery, Anfield Cemetery, to get to Everton's ground.
Yeah.
It used to take about 20 minutes to get there, you know, but it was everything was in walking distance, so...
Yeah.
And,
Do you still go there from time to time?
well, the last time I went to see Everton was early 1960s. It's a bit of a drag getting. It's a bit of a drag getting over there now, you know.
Yeah. You haven't transferred your allegiance to Tranmere?
No,
Don't laugh.
Tranmere or Chester, no.
Okay.
I've never been to Tranmere's ground or Chester's ground, actually. Never.
All right. Yes, all right.
Never been. I know where it is, but I've never been in the ground.
I shan't ask any more on that. Yeah. And were you even, in your younger days, were you a musician?
Well, I didn't take the violin up till I was 16.
Yes.
It was a bit late in life. How I started on the violin, I worked in Alexander Dock Goods Station
Yeah.
in the office as a messenger, and one of the clerks played the violin,
Oh.
and he was very, very good, and he had a violin for sale, so I bought it off him, and
Yeah.
that's how I started. So I used to go to music lessons, but having said that, the teachers I had were just useless. They just wanted your money, show you the door, and then goodbye.
Right.
And then at that time, I worked in the warehouse in Morris and Jones in Wood Street, and at the top of Wood Street was a violin shop, Lawrence Naseby.
Oh.
And I took a violin there to be repaired. And I just happened to say in passing, do you know any good music teachers? And he said, yes. He said, I know one. He said, he plays in the Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra. He said, I'll give you his phone number. But he'll tell you, if you don't practice, you're wasting his time as well as your own. So I rang him up and he said, come along and I'll see how you go on. So I went and I had to start all over again right in the beginning because all these teachers were not teaching correctly at all. So that's when I really started to put the time in. I used to practice 3 or 4 hours a day if I got the chance, yeah.
Had your parents been at all musical?
My father played the piano.
Yes.
2 of my sisters played the piano.
Oh, right.
And another sister was a singer.
Yes.
She sang. Now, the sister who is alive now, Violet, she played the piano, and she was very good. She could read music like a book, and she actually accompanied the leading violin player out of the Salt Lake City Orchestra in St. George's Hall when she was 15.
Yeah.
So she was very, very good on the piano.
So your family were encouraging you?
We were, yeah. Yes. Well, my father wanted me to play the piano, and I used to go to this music teacher off Walton Hall Avenue, but I couldn't take to the piano at all. I don't know. I just give it up.
Yep, fair enough. Yeah.
And then it was then when I went when I was at Alexandra Dock Station with this clerk who got me into the violin. That's when I started on the violin. And
we're going to listen to several of your violin performances. I think perhaps it's time we stopped for the first piece of music. Would you like to explain what these pieces of music are?
Pardon?
Would you like to explain what the pieces of music are?
Yeah, well, the one on the CD is a set of jigs, starting with one called a blackthorn stick.
This is yourself playing?
That's me. I'm playing. Neil recorded these in his studio. He's backing me on the guitar.
Yes.
We did it in his studio, so we made a CD, and that's one of the set that we played.
So this is by the both of you?
This is by both of us, yes.
Okay, so this is Neil Gaskell accompanying Ronnie Ellams on Blackthorn Stick Medley. Blackthorn Stick Medley.
Every tune has a name.
Yes.
The first one is a Blackthorn Stick.
Yes.
Second one is Rakes of Kildare, and the last one is Lanion's Ball.
Yes.
There you see.
You didn't write them?
No, I didn't write them, no.
Well, I was very tempted to get up and dance around the studio to that. Do you play regularly for people to dance to?
No, I do. I go to the Thatch on a Monday in Raby with a group of lads.
Yes.
We all play together. Once a week, we do occasionally do the odd gig and a charity gig. But later on this month we're going over to Ireland, to Dundalk,
yes,
to play over there. Yeah. And one of the musicians is an accordionist, and he comes from Dundalk.
Yeah. And
he's living over here now, and he has a sister lives over there. So we were invited to go over. We've been over. This will be the 3rd year we've been over. We went over the last year and the year before. So we're going over this year in September. This end of the month.
Yes, so you'll be among friends there.
We'll be among friends, yes, and we have a good time. Enjoy the Guinness.
I bet you have a good time.
The Guinness is different there to here, I can tell you.
Well, if something goes wrong in the pipeline, doesn't it, as it comes through?
Yeah.
We left your life story as you were beginning to be a worker on the railways and become a signalman.
Yes.
Were you working on the Wirral at that time?
I worked in signal boxes on the Wirral. I came over from Liverpool to this side and worked at Stenlow and Thornton signal box, which controlled all the tank traffic out to Shell.
I see, yes.
And then from Stenlow I went to Ellesmere Port box. And then I was there for a while. I went to Ludgem Junction, which is on the Chester Birkenhead line. And then from there I went to Rock Ferry, which controlled the Mersey line and the Birkenhead line.
So you'd moved over to live on the Wirral by this
Yes, I
point?
moved over to live on the Wirral, yeah. Live in Ellesmere Port.
You still live in the same place?
Still live in the same place, yes.
So you've lived there for 50 years or so, is that right?
Yes, going on that, yes. Time goes so quick and
Yes.
I never think to count it.
Yeah. No, but that's good.
But then from Rock Ferry I went to Hooton South.
Yeah.
And then from there I left the railway, went into Vauxhalls for a short spell.
Did you leave? It was your decision to leave.
Yeah, it was my decision.
Yes.
You could see the writing on the wall, the way things were going. The lines were closing down, signal boxes were closing.
Yeah.
So I went from there to Vauxhalls. I wasn't there for very, very long. I went into Van Leer, and from Van Leer, I went into the electricity industry.
Yes, you've done a lot.
Yeah, I went into Ince Power Station.
Yes.
Then from there to Bromborough.
Yeah.
And then from Bromborough I went into the transmission side, in the high voltage switching station, the D side.
Yes.
And then from there I went to Capenhurst, and we all got made redundant at the time when the industry went private, so I took redundancy, and I've been a man of leisure since, mainly playing the violin and messing about on computers.
So how long were you working at Capenhurst for then?
It was at Capenhurst. I was at D-side for 7 years, and it was at Capenhurst from then till 1990. So basically most of my time in the electricity was actually on the transmission side, so it was about the best part of 20 years in there.
Yeah, so your time on the railways wasn't all that long, really?
Well, 19 years. I was on
It's
the
quite a
railway.
long time.
I still got in my blood, put it that way.
Yes.
That's why I go to this Exeter West signal box at Crewe.
Yes, explain about that for us.
Well, I found out that by sheer accident on the internet, and I saw this clip of somebody working a signal box at Exeter West.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, that's a bit strange, but anyway, it was actually moved from Exeter West when it closed down. It was salvaged, rescued by Exeter West Group.
Yeah.
They got it off British Rail, dismantled it all, and eventually it ended up at Crewe Heritage Centre.
Yes.
And they rebuilt it all,
Yes.
got it operational, and they used a simulator, so you can actually replicate as it was in the 60s when it was actually properly operational at Exeter.
Yes.
And it's various people go, and people become members of it and actually train up to work the signal boxes, which is what I'm doing now.
Right. So it's part of the Heritage Centre, so the public can go around.
The public
and
can go. The Heritage Centre said to Exeter West Group, you can bring the box here as long as you open it of a weekend to the public. So
Right.
it's open the weekends in the summer to the public, so anybody can go in there.
And they can pretend to be a signalman when
Well,
they go in.
what they can join Exeter West Group
Yes.
and learn the box. They'll train you up.
Yes.
So they're looking for members anyway. So quite a few people have joined since I've been there.
So is it quite a big box? I mean,
It's a 130 lever frame,
130.
massive box. It was.
Yes. So does that correspond to 130 different points on the actual line?
Well, yeah, this various move. What they did, they controlled a line up to Exeter Central,
Mhm.
which went to London.
Yeah.
What was it? Waterloo. And then the other lines go to Paddington. Other lines go out to Manchester, up north.
Yeah.
And it's got 6 lines away. And they controlled a shed. There's a local depot they had,
Mhm.
and also a goods sidings. So there's a lot of shunting movement going on between
Right, of course.
trains,
Yes.
and it can get very busy, you know. But they work to a time. They have various timetables they work to that were in operation in the 60s and when it was operational. They have a summer timetable, a weekend summer timetable, and a weekday summer timetable. So it all depends which, get a choice. Which they say which timetable do you want to work to? So I work to the easy one,
Yeah.
which is a weekday.
Yeah.
And in the summer, when that box was actually in operation, of a weekend, they'd have 2 men working that box because it was so busy.
Yeah.
But it was just mainly passenger. Had no freight trains and engines. It was all just passenger traffic because it wasn't a time to do any shunting movements. It was so busy. And apparently, on a Saturday afternoon, someone's telling me, they have 30,000 people pass through there on a Saturday.
30,000?
30,000 people.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, it's so many trains, and one man actually operated that box himself and the booking lab. So it was, what was it called, a special class B, which is very high class boxes. It was so busy.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the lever movements, you can do 30 lever movements just to get an engine off the shed.
Oh.
It's quite complex.
Yeah.
So
Are there still old-fashioned boxes like that in operation?
yeah, there's still some boxes still in operation. Ellesmere Port, that's a manual box, but I don't think it's actually manual as it was then. It was all little levers or push buttons. But
Yeah.
Helsby Junction, which is on the Ellesmere Port line, which goes to Helsby Junction, it's the end of the Ellesmere Port line. It goes out to Manchester, and the other part goes to Chester.
Yeah.
That's still operational. That's a manual box. But apparently that's going on to Manchester Piccadilly in, I think, the year 2024, which has got 5 years life left in it. So that's going to be controlled from Manchester.
And even though it's a manual box, is it now a question of pushing buttons rather than putting
Well,
buttons?
at the moment, when they build the new panel at Manchester Piccadilly, it'll all be push buttons.
Mhm.
Push buttons, and it won't be a manual box. In fact, the box will be gone.
Yeah.
It'll be just disappeared,
And so those aren't the Merseyrail trains, are they?
No, the Merseyrail trains are controlled from Hooton.
Yes.
Well, there is a power box at Hooton, but that's now closed. That went on to Chester.
Yeah.
And Chester has now on to Manchester Piccadilly, apparently.
And the Birkenhead trains at this end of Merseyrail, where are they controlled?
Well, the only trains you get, when I was at Rock Ferry, we used to get trains to Paddington. Paddington traffic, yeah.
Oh.
About every 2 hours, and we had the local service to Ellesmere Port and Chester.
Yeah.
And we had freight traffic down to the docks and up from the docks.
Mm-hmm.
And then one man worked that was on the main line, the other man worked the Merseyrail side, which wasn't connected up to the main line like it is now. It's what they used to do, the Mersey train used to run in, passengers run over the platform to get the train.
This is at Rock Ferry.
From Rock Ferry to Chester or Ellesmere Port, wherever they were going.
I remember having to do that, yes.
But now it's there's a junction goes after Mersey onto the main line.
Mhm.
But there's no goods traffic anymore, and Birkenhead Woodside station, that closed a long time ago.
I know, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There used to be through trains from Birkenhead Woodside right to the Welsh coast.
That's right, yes. Yeah, well, I remember of a Saturday summertime we used to have a train from Birkenhead to Poole in Dorset.
Oh yes.
Of a Saturday morning, it was a special
Yeah.
in the summer.
Yeah.
But then you had trains to Wrexham, as well. We used to get the trains, not often, but you just have the odd trains to Wrexham.
Mhm.
But most of the train were Paddington trains, just go to Chester and on the Great Western route out to Paddington.
Mhm.
But now they've gone now, so.
And do you also enjoy being a passenger on the trains?
Oh yes, yeah I do, yes. It's just look at the old places that I used to work in when I used to pass on the railway line. You can see the old sites it used to be,
Yes.
like Letcham Junction, that was used to be 2 lines going into 4. That's no longer there anymore. It's gone. It's just straight through now. Just two plain lines right through to Chester.
Do you still feel sad about Dr. Beeching?
Well, I do feel sad, yes.
Yes.
A lot of ex-rail women will tell you they really feel sad about it, because one chap goes to Crewe. He used to be an inspector at Birkenhead, and he worked all over the place, and he used to, mentioned about Beeching.
Yes.
I can't repeat on air what he said about him.
I can guess.
And what most of us think about him either. But now all these lines he closed, they're trying to reopen them again now, aren't they?
They are reopening some of them, yes, and I hope that works.
Yeah, but the West Kirby line, they can't reopen that because they built on it.
They have, there's a whole housing estate at Neston.
Yes, the house hop, but we can't rebuild on that again anymore.
Well, it's a real pleasure walking along it at any rate.
Yes, I have walked along there, but not. But I think Neil goes on that sometimes, don't you, Neil?
Well, mention of Neil, we'll pause for another piece from your CD, by Ronnie Ellams and Neil Gaskell. A CD called "The Man with the Violin." This is Ron on the
Yes,
fiddle.
that's me. Yeah.
And this will be the Kerry
Slides
medley. Let's hear it. Ronnie Ellams on violin again, Neil Gaskell on guitar, the Kerry Slides medley.
There's
The
names.
different- yes.
Sorry, there's names for them.
Go on, yes.
The first one is Danny Alps,
Yes.
and Dennis O'Keefe's, and the last one, the Dingle Regatta.
Right, the Dingle Regatta.
Dingle Regatta. Any Irish fiddle player or musician will recognise the Dingle Regatta. That's a very popular tune now.
That's good. Yeah. If I understood you right, you retired about 25 years ago.
Good,
is it?
yes, yes.
Yes. You've been enjoying yourself in retirement.
Well, I have, yes. Yes, I've been making the most of it.
So you don't regret retiring at that point?
Well, at first when you retire, you've been working for 40 odd years, and all of a sudden you're
You're not.
you've no work to go to, and it's a strange feeling. You sort of feel lost
Yes.
at that particular moment. You think, what am I doing here, But you adapt.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I've got the violin, which keeps me occupied.
Yes.
And I'm into computers as well, so I build computers and set them up.
You build computers?
Yes, yeah.
Were you doing anything like that in your time
No.
in the electricity industry?
No, how I got into computers, my son is an electrician,
Yes.
and he was doing a rewire at somebody's house in Little Sutton, and he rang me up and he said, this chap here is into computers, you'll have to come along. And anyway, I used to help him now and again, a bit of plastering, and pulling wires in and that sort of thing. And anyway, this chap said to me, are you into computers? I said, no. He said, he used to have computer fairs. He said, it's simple enough. He said, you can build your own computer. I said, I don't know anything about it. He said, well, you come with me to the computer fair in Liverpool and we get all the bits.
Yeah.
And I went over to him, got all the pieces, put it all together, and he come and helped me set it up. And that's where it started from there, building computers. And I built my son a computer. He's an electrician, so he needs something for his work.
Yes.
So I built him one for his work, and it's just a bit of a pastime. I don't make a living out of it. It's just a hobby, and it keeps the brain active as well.
So do you feel you have to keep up to date with all the new things that come out?
Well, it's very hard to keep up to date with some of the stuff. I mean, when I first started building computers, you had your CPU, you had your memory card, and all that sort of thing. You had to put them all into the motherboard. But now, you buy a motherboard with everything installed on it, and it's just a question of putting it in the case, plugging it in, connecting it up and plugging it in. And then you just load your Windows onto it, and that's all there is to it now. It's nothing complicated about it. If anything goes wrong with the computer, you don't fix them, you just replace parts.
Yes.
You just replace a part. Most of the stuff can't be repaired anyway. So when you find out, if you can find out what's wrong with the computer and replace that, a lot of it's fine. by trial and error. You find a part and they'll that works, so it must have been that part that was faulty, you know.
Right.
So there's not a lot to it really. Programming is a different. It's another subject, programming altogether. But building computers, anyone can do it really. There's nothing to it.
Take your word for that. So do you get lots of friends and neighbours turning to you for help?
No, it's my eldest son. Well, I have one or two people have asked me, my son on the computer, can you come and have a look at it for me? So I do that. But there was one occasion my son rang me up, he said, my computer's blown up. So I went and had a look at it, and all his work was on the computer. So I said, it was a pull-out, removable drive.
Mm-hmm.
So he said he would get the smell of burning off it when he switched it on.
Yeah.
And what it was, it had a power surge. And I said, well, you're an electrician. Why didn't you put an RCD on it to protect it, you know? Anyway, I brought the hard drive home, checked it out, and everything was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It hadn't blown the hard drive. Everything else had gone. The CPU, the motherboard, everything. But fortunately, the hard drive was okay. So I built him another computer and put this new hard drive in for him, and he's up and running again now. But now he's got a protection device on to protect it in case he gets another power surge.
It's very impressive that you're able to do that.
Yeah, well, it takes time. You don't learn it overnight. It's over a period of time you learn these things bit by bit, you know.
Yes.
Then you just build it up. I suppose it's like music. You learn a piece of music, you learn it in stages.
Yes.
Because when I was taking music lessons, my music teacher would give me a piece of music, and he'd say, well, go through them first 8 bars. You do the first 8 bars, learn that for a week or two, go back again, learn another 8 bars till you've got the whole tune and learn it that way, you know.
We're going to hear your third piece of music, which we've been having some trouble in pronouncing.
Yeah,
it's like Ankian.
Anakian it is.
Ankian. Is this a medley as well?
Pardon?
Is this a medley as well?
It's a slow air, yeah.
Uh-huh. Here we go. I think perhaps your live performance should be the next one, so that we're certain to get it in.
I've got another violin which was made in 1860,
Yeah.
a copy of a McGuinney,
Oh,
and that's one I used to use for gigging.
right.
I used to bring this as a spare in case I had any problems with the other one.
Yeah.
The McGuinney, it's actually half an inch bigger than the standard fiddle.
Yes.
And at one time, a chap I bought it off in the Irish Centre in Liverpool, he had it strung up as a viola.
Oh.
It can be played as a viola, but I restrung it back as a violin. And that's 1860, and it still plays quite well.
Yes.
That was mainly my gigging fiddle.
Do you need to get new strings from time to time?
Well, I haven't put strings on this for quite a while now,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually they do go dull. And when you put new strings on, they ring out a bit better. But this definitely needs a new set of strings on it fairly soon, so we shall be putting on that.
Oh, it sounds pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, it sounds all right. It's quite a nice fiddle. I bought this from a shop in Rufus Court in Chester, and unfortunately he's closed now because apparently the business rates were crippling him, and he couldn't afford to keep it open. So I think he works from home now.
Yeah.
But I got this violin. I think he was asking £525 for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried quite various violins he had. He had dozens all over the wall. There were some were £1,500, £2,000. I didn't like them.
Oh, right.
And I tried this one. I said, I like that. I said, what do you want for it? So he said, £525. So I said, what will you take? So I got it for £475.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So I had it valued last year. There was a valuation officer in Chester
Yeah.
valuing various violins, and I took this, and he said, He said this is worth about £1,200 now.
Right.
So, but he said what's happening is the value of these old violins are going down because the Chinese are coming in now, making violins just as good as old fiddles, and they sound just as good. But they've really got their act together now, the Chinese, and you can get a superb violin now, made in China for £1,000, which is, you know, about the going price, I suppose, for any instrument, if you want a decent one.
And it is definitely a violin, not a fiddle, is it?
Well, it's just a common slang name for
Yes.
it. It's just another name for it, you know.
Yeah.
In America, they just tend to call them fiddles, don't they?
And in Ireland,
Yeah,
I
they
think, as
call
well.
them. It's just a common slang name over in America. Rather than say violin in America, they call it a fiddle, which is the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Can I ask you, Neil, about your guitar?
Yes, certainly. That is a relatively cheap instrument, to be honest.
One more of your previously recorded. It's quite suitable for being the last one on the show.
Yes.
Ashokan.
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 It pronounces Ashokan or Ashokan. It all depends which way you want to pronounce it.
Okay.
By J. Ungar.
Right. Here we go. Then we'll have 2 or 3 minutes to say our farewells, and then we'll play out. Well, this has been most interesting and encouraging.
Yes.
You should confer well. That was Ronnie Ellams on the violin, the classical on the guitar, going together as they always do. Well, you've been a musician for more than 25 years now.
25 years of going on. More. Well, no, I've been nearly 65 years in total.
In total, I suppose.
Yes.
Yes.
I also play the mandolin as well.
Do you?
Yeah, I've got a mandolin as well.
You didn't tell me that, so I'd have asked
No, I
you to bring
didn't tell
it
you
in.
that last time, no. So it's something I've always fancied playing the mandolin. It's same fingering as a violin,
Mhm.
but instead of using a bow, you use a plectrum.
Yeah. Well, playing music keeps you young, they say, so another 20 years of doing this, it's
I
great.
hope so, yes.
Yeah. We've almost got to the end of our show, which is a bit sad. The time seems to have gone very quickly, and it's been very interesting listening to you. Is there anything you'd like to say to the great Vintage Radio listening public at this point?
Yeah, just thanks for having us on. It's been a pleasure to come along and entertain. So I hope you listeners enjoyed what we played, and there'll be more to come.
Yes. What do you think that when your CD is made of your own original compositions, it might be available for people to buy?
Yeah, well, we'll try and put it onto CD and see how we go, take it from there, you know.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. So we'll play out with our theme tune, and for the minute just say goodbye. Goodbye from Neil.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye,
Goodbye.
from Ronnie.
Thanks for having us on.
Goodbye for myself, and I'll see you again next week when David Charters will be back. So goodbye for now. Excellent.
Spring Song, that's called.
It is, that's right.
Yes, I've got the music for that.
It's one of Mendelssohn's
Mendelssohn.